You know, we all have been using Stack Overflow all our lives, basically, right? To help us with coding questions until Copilot came along. So I want to talk a little bit about what would it take to actually take all of Stack Overflow data and analyze it inside of DuckDB. I'm Michael Hunger. I'm with Neo4j. I'm leading product innovation and developer product strategy at Neo4j. But as part of product innovation, you can play around with a lot of technologies, including DuckDB. Thank you, Hannes. And it's a really great tool to quickly quickly extract information out of data on your local machine. And even if your data is as big as Stack Overflow, you can still get answers in a few seconds or milliseconds. So let's see how to do that. So we already did the show of hands as such, but we didn't ask who has actually used MotherDuck before. 1, 2, 3. So I hope after the talk there will be some more folks that have used MotherDuck. So as Mehdi said, we are writing DuckDB in action. It's almost done. We have 2 chapters to go, and publication will be around the 1.0 release of DuckDB, so next spring. And there's also discount code for the book. And if you want to review the book, you can find me later. And I have also 100% discounts for the full book if you're willing to write us an honest review. So I don't want to get a good review. I want to have an honest review. So everyone who wants to come see me later. Thank you to Hannes and Mark for offering to write the foreword. Really great. And so actually publishes an ebook. And MotherDuck has a free ebook available. So you see the cards. Just grab one of these cards and you can get your free ebook copy from MotherDuck. So enough promo. So we all know copy and pasting from Stack Overflow is what we do, right? And if you want to, there's even a keyboard from Cassidy Williams that you can use for Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V. Really easy, that's our life. And you know, Stack Overflow looks like this, right? But who has actually ever thought about what's the infrastructure running behind the scenes, right? So there needs to be some database or something, right? SQL Server, exactly. There's a SQL Server. Actually, it's
20 years almost.
Yeah, it's like 3 instances or so of SQL Server. It's really tiny, but it's also not a lot of data, as you will see, right? So, okay, that's what we usually see. That's even a DuckDB question. And we could imagine it looks like this, right? So like ants running behind the scenes. So that's Dolly for you. But what Stack Overflow also has is a REST API. So you can basically just run this API request over here, and then you get basically DuckDB questions up to 100 per page, and you can basically get the JSON and consume this. But of course, for all of Stack Overflow, and REST API will not cut it, right? So we need to have something else. Okay, fortunately, Stack Overflow is a very open company, and so forever, actually, they have been publishing on the Internet Archive their whole data dump of the whole Stack Exchange site, right? Which is really great. It's a Creative Commons license. It's updated quarterly nowadays. It used to be monthly. And it's huge and it's slow, right? Because Internet Archive needs money. So if you have money to donate, then please also donate to the Internet Archive. And it took me multiple days actually to download the data. So don't do this at home. We have something better for you. And it's a really weird XML export format from SQL Server. So if I had one wish, if anyone wants to build a DuckDB extensions for reading XML, like read XML, I would be really grateful for that. So you can find it there. And we want to look at this Stack Overflow data. There's also all the other Stack exchanges as well there, right? Everything from, I don't know, movies to medicine to bioviruses, you know, whatever you can build on Stack Overflow. But we want to look at these, like these are the largest data sets as well. You see already the posts one is, post history is 33 gigabytes, post it's 20 gigabytes and so on. So it's some nice data and it's compressed. Okay, let's analyze this in DuckDB. So you don't need to download it from the Internet Archive anymore. So I've done this for you. They also compress it with 7-zip, which you have to install on your computer. It's really weird. You have to extract it to CSV out of this weird XML format, and then so I've written a tool a long time ago which I've used, but there's also XML extraction tools and JQ that you can use for. We really need a read XML function in DuckDB. That would be great. And then query and input the CSV, and then do some EDA, and then we export this stuff to Pocket. Let's see how this goes. Okay, now the live demo bit. So we have DuckDB 092 here and a bunch of files. I have also, so we have also data model, right? So we have basically users, posts, tags, and posts can be answers and questions. And there's also votes and comments and badges and lots of other stuff. But we will focus on the users and the posts today as such, and a little bit on the text as well. So if you want to code along, I put it all into GitHub gist, so all the SQL queries in GitHub gist, so you can basically go ahead and use them as such. Otherwise, I will just steal and copy and paste from the GitHub gist so that you don't have to watch me typing statements. If you want to read more about this, we've also done a bunch of blog posts about this on MotherDuck as well. And so let's get going. So we have our DuckDB running, not yet. Test.db. Can you everyone read it from the back? Okay, so smallest file is the text file. So how big is the text file? It's 65,000 tags in Stack Overflow, right? So like everything from the most popular tag, which is what? Any guesses? Java? JavaScript? Okay, let's see. Because of course we can get this information. You can also use the scribe to see what's actually in the CSV. So because this is a CSV without headers, you don't have actual column names, but it shows this here. But we can basically read this data really quickly from the CSV, and you see that actually it's JavaScript, 24 million questions, 21 million questions for Python, and then it's 18 million questions for Java, right? Oh no, 1.8 million, sorry. So, okay, that's the text, right? And then if you want to import this, then we would basically just use read CSV and load in the file, and we can provide column names and auto detect. And actually, because it's a SQL Server export, it's actually show tables. So we have now the text table, and if you do select console from, yes, yeah, I'll fix it. So 65,000 tags in our table. Cool. And then of course we can do the same with the other tables like users and posts. So this is the users table, which takes a little bit longer to load. Let's see how much data is in there. So it takes a few seconds. We can actually do timer on, so we can see how long the stuff takes. Select count stuff from users. And so it's 19 million users on Stack Overflow. So this dump is from May, so there might be a few more now, but it's actually quite nice to have all of Stack Overflow on my computer, right? So running, don't have to go to the website anymore. I can just ask the questions directly. So we can do the same with the post table, which takes a little bit longer. But while you're doing this, now you can do all kinds of analytics, right? So because now you have all of Stack Overflow on your computer, imported in DuckDB, and then now you basically can kick yourself out and do whatever kind of analytics you want to do, which I find really, really nice, because now I don't have to spin up, a Redshift cluster and Snowflake cluster or something like that to do this. And so I can just run this directly on my own machine. So I think this takes about 30 seconds to load the CSV. Actually, I wanted to show you how long it takes to load the CSV. While you're waiting for this, I can actually show you the file sizes. So that's the wrong file size. I want to show you this one. So it's 3 gigabytes compressed CSV, 5 gigabytes comments, 600 megabytes users compressed, right? Uncompressed, we can actually check how big this is uncompressed. Let's see. So like the users, so it's 1.9 gigabytes uncompressed for the users CSV. And meanwhile, we have imported it. It took 46 seconds to import the posts. And there are 58 million posts in questions and answers, right? It's all in the same table because it's basically post type ID 1 is a question, post type ID 2 is an answer. Beautiful relational database design, of course, right? Okay, now we got our data in the database. Now we can basically do first few questions. Does anyone know who's a very prolific answerer on Stack Overflow? So one of the favorite. Yeah, let's see. So John Skeet was one of the first Stack Overflow users, Gordon Lundoff. So they have all reputation 1.3 million, comma. I'm not sure how you are. I'm at 40,000 or something like that. So it's still far away from those, right? But what kind of analytics can we do? We can, for instance, say, can we see how much they? Let's first look at posts. So what we can do at the posts here is just to do a yearly analytics on a post, right? So give me basically all the years and then how many posts were in the year, what was the average view count and the maximum answer count on the post table, right? So and remember, this is kind of running through the 58 million posts table here, right? And it runs in 0.1 second, which is really nice. It shows that my old M1 Mac is still up to the task, right? And before we go deeper into things, what we can do now is basically we can take these tables and export them to Parquet, because no one wants to do CSV anymore these days, right? And so basically, and it takes a few seconds to export this users table to Parquet, and then I can use the Parquet files later on. Actually, I had this other query. Where was this? I think it's coming down there somewhere. Or we can actually look in the book. Can just steal one of the queries in the book, which is basically bar. There's my bar here. So here's a nice query which gives me, let's see. So we get the users and reputation, and then we say, what is the reputation per time frame, right? So since they were created, the users, so how many points per day did they collect, basically, right? What's their run rate, anyway, right? And then we can say how many days are these, and we put this into a common table expression. And then we want to actually use the bar function to make it look nice. And then we get no name column, describe users. I think I have two different data models. So it's display name, right? Display name. And created at was creation date. I think that was the other creation. Can probably alias it as well, right? Creation. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think 3. So. That's what you get when you copy stuff from some random books. Don't do this. Creation date. And there might be another one. There's another one. Creation date. And then, now I did mess it up. So let me just copy this into, or fix it here. Creation. I just need to remember to undo that before the book goes out. Otherwise, you all watch the addition of an... Oh yeah, thank you. Exactly. So display name, and then down here as well, display. We could have used aliases, of course. So it was worth it, right? So you see basically the reputation of the people, the run rate, and that's basically the bar chart for the run rate. So John Skeet has actually a really high run rate, but Gordon Linhoff is actually higher as such, right? And bar is really nice because you can visualize inline your values. So the base value, and then the max value, and then how many columns width you want to use, which is really nice, right? Okay, so we exported the data already to Parquet so that it's easier somewhere else to get this data into DuckDB again, right? To do this, we actually we can have a look at what our test database, how big it actually turned out to be. So it's 4.2 gigabytes of test data that we imported into into DuckDB, plus compression, of course, right? So what we can do now is I have already an account at MotherDuck, so I can basically go to my MotherDuck UI here, and you already see that I have a bunch of tables somewhere behind those things. And in the notebook, we have also some data, so I have already my login, and I exported my MotherDuck token as an environment variable, so I can basically just say DuckDB MD:, and then it basically connects to MotherDuck. And if I do show databases, it shows me all the databases that I have there. You see, I've done a lot of Stack Overflow databases, right? So, and then we can basically say create a database Berlin Meetup or something like that. And then if I do show databases again, it should show me Berlin Meetup. And then we can also say use Berlin Meetup, and then when I now do show tables, there should be no tables in this database. But what we can do is we've also uploaded these Parquet files to an S3 bucket, so we can basically just read them from S3 into DuckDB. But we don't need to stress DLT's VLAN here, but we can just do it in the cloud directly. So I can basically just say timer on. And then let's see how long it takes to import this Parquet file into the database. Yeah, so it's 10 seconds to load the Parquet file from S3 into MotherDuck as such.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So now we have our users table here, and now here we actually have the right. So I just had the local import was not using the right thing, so I can basically go back and now this should show us our data again, right? So we can do the same for the other tables real quick. So,
How fast is it if you query the bucket file directly?
we can try this actually.
Yeah, there is some optimization on the query side from MotherDuck. Even if you do from the client, right, it's pushing back to the cloud. And because of the bandwidth of the network between S3 and MotherDuck, that's why it's super fast.
So we can actually use directly our users Parquet file. I mean, Parquet fortunately does also a lot of push-down predicates and filtering, so the Parquet format supports lots of metadata filtering. So if you do counts down the Parquet file, it actually doesn't read the file, right? And if you do select only some columns, and then because it's columnar format, it only pushes its them. And then because you have for each segment metadata, what's in the segment, it can also select which segments to read in the first place. So if we replace our users table here with the Parquet file, so then we can actually see how long this takes to run. So this now imports all the data sets into our database. So if we, is it automatically refreshed? It's not automatically refreshed. It's only refreshing when you do something in the MotherDuck UI, then it automatically refreshes it. But it would be nice if there was like some background thing that refreshes stuff, right? Come on. So there's also some locking with the metadata catalog going on, where it's blocked basically while you're creating new tables into the metadata catalog. So you see now we have the comments table, which is pretty big, and the users table. So we can also just say here, shouldn't it be use this database? It should be a use, right? That's really interesting. So if we say, yeah, that's what I tried. No, but it doesn't have use for some reason. Probably again the metadata catalog. Okay, now we can do select count star from comments, and I think this is all. We're keeping it busy. So it now imported the votes, the badges, the tags, post links. So basically we are using up all the MotherDuck infrastructure storage now because you have now imported basically all of Stack Overflow into this, right? And so you see comments is actually 88 million, if I got this right, 88 million comments on Stack Overflow, right? But we wanted to see how long it actually takes to run this on a Parquet file, and actually it's only 2 seconds on a Parquet file, right? So which is really nice from that perspective. You can also see the Parquet file itself is let's see. So the user's Parquet file is 700 megabytes. So it's also, because it's columnar, compressed really nicely, right?
The S3 bucket, they're both in the US.
Yeah, Mehdi, where did you create it? I trust Mehdi that he created the bucket in the right zone.
It's an American company.
So it's in, I think it's in US East or something like that, right? So, but something that MotherDuck also added, which is really nice, is there was Till Domen did some GPT plus SQL experiments. I don't know if who of you has read his blog post. And so Jordan put this actually into MotherDuck. So we can now run AI-powered queries on MotherDuck. And this is actually, this is a lot of fun because it's probabilistic and it's always, whenever you run the stuff, it returns different things. So it's actually perfect for a talk, right? Because you actually want to have very reliable and things, right? So we can call prompt schema. So it basically sends the table definitions to GPT-3.5 and you get a verbal description of what is this database actually about. Let's see what it does. It takes, I think, 3 to 10 seconds. So this is really boring, right? So I could have seen that by just looking at the tables. But if I run this a second time, it will actually do a different response. And sometimes it actually says, this is like looks like a QA site and so on. But it's, as I said, it's very probabilistic. Okay. Right. What else can we do? We can also ask questions. So for instance, prompt query will actually generate a SQL query and run the SQL query as well. Read only, right? So don't worry. So what are the most popular tags? So it gets the schema again from the database plus our question. And then basically the prompt says, write a SQL statement or return only a SQL statement that would answer this question given the schema as such, right? And it did it, right? So you want to see the SQL, exactly. So unfortunately, this pragma doesn't return the SQL, but you can basically have it ask for the SQL itself. And then it basically returns the SQL as such.
So the time is now...
The time is basically the OpenAI GPT APIs take so many seconds. It's not the runtime of DuckDB, right? So don't worry, right? So, and this is looks quite nice, right? But we can also do more complicated stuff. So for instance, we can also say something like, what question has the highest score and what are its other attributes, right? So which is already a little bit more involved in terms of the question, right? Could be some of your colleagues coming to you as a data person and say, can you answer this question, right? And then in the future, they don't need to come to you anymore. They leave you alone because they can just talk to DuckDB, right? So yeah, so that's a good question, right? And then you can do things like which 5 questions have the most comments and what's the post title and title count. So you actually want to see, can it do a join as well and things like that. So I should probably have done mode line to actually show this better.
And the model itself is a cloud-based service, or
so the model is just a regular GPT model. It's not fine-tuned or trained or anything. It's basically just uses a custom prompt. Then in the prompt you provide the database schema and you provide the user question. I'm not sure if there's some few-shot examples as well as such, but because you can use it with any database, the few-shot examples don't help you much, right? So I think it's basically just the schema plus the user question, and then there's so much SQL on the internet.
Trained on this very dataset.
Right. So actually, nice. Here we saw the deadline exceeded, so it took more than. But we also know that OpenAI has some problems right now, as we all heard, right? So yeah, it could be a MotherDuck thing, right? So
basically also use some
Exactly. Yeah, so Code Llama is quite okay. You can also run local models with Llama, for instance, as well. And you can even fine tune. So for instance, if you have a data set where you have, for instance, a lot of example queries and questions from users, you can also fine tune a model like Llama also to basically then provide you dedicated queries for this model. They also say, hey, I have these entities, and if someone says, engineer, they actually mean a developer and stuff like that, so it can also fix up naming and stuff like this, right? So what's also really nice is it also is able to fix up your queries, right? So we always, as you saw just with me, you always mistype stuff, right? So you can also say, fix this query, right? Because I did something wrong in this query. So let's see. And it's actually this is the group by. I always hated group by when I was still doing SQL on a daily basis because I always forgot to add group by. But fortunately, DuckDB has group by all, so you don't need to do it as such. But if you miss your group by, it basically goes and fixes and adds your group by at the end. And then you can also do something like this. I have a join here in my query where I actually intentionally used the wrong fields, and it basically fixes here the user ID to only user ID because it has the schema information as well, and so it can fix also so it's kind of a little bit like Copilot. This is more fun than for real, right? Don't get me wrong. So, but what's actually for real is the next bit, which is creating shares and sharing data sets from MotherDuck. Right? So if you can take any database, and if I want to say, I want to create a share from our Berlin Meetup, database, and Berlin Meetup, what day is today? 20th of November, right? 11:20. And so it will go ahead and create a read-only share or read-only snapshot from our database, which you then can hand to other people, and they can run queries on your data as such. So I can basically just do DuckDB and share URL, and then I can get access to all of this stuff, which you can actually try. Otherwise, you can also use attach command where you say attach share name, and then you have it also available inside of your session as well. So it basically does a snapshot copy of the 4 gigabytes and then access it. Yep.
What about PI that?
Eh?
What about PI that?
Meanwhile, sharing.
You might get some sensible data.
Yeah, that's up to you, right? So you don't want to share sensible data, right? I'm actually not sure if there's any like masking or other things in there yet. Probably not yet, right? So, but there could be an option where you say, I want to mask sensible data, for instance, like, I don't know, email addresses or person names or things like that could actually be shared, could actually be masked.
Just to explain the context, if you have like open data sets, because you see there was quite some cleaning to be done from the raw data set on Stack Overflow, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help to make the word a better data set. And then we host it basically on both S3 as raw Parquet and on MotherDuck as a shared database, so that we put it in our public data set. We have a couple of them there.
So and if you have multiple shares, then you can basically also say list shares, and it will show you. And here we have our Berlin Meetup share, right? So if I now send this, for instance, to Mehdi, he can take this and just run the queries on it, right? So imagine we were just in our DuckDB CLI here and just use the share, then it doesn't work because it's not, sorry. Yeah, I thought you could actually use it directly, but.
And we have weird behavior because you're the owner and you need to pass an alias.
Can see S, right? S4. Here is 4. Show tables. Right, and now I basically pass the share to someone else and they can use it as such. Right? And I think that's what I wanted to show in the live demo. We looked at that the Parquet files are much smaller than the CSV file, the XML, compressed XML files, which is really nice, and that the information is there. We looked at the AI queries. If you want to see the blog posts, feel free, and otherwise, I think that's it. Any questions.